Thank you, Mr. President. And I mentioned in my comments earlier that this was one of the most unsettling feelings I've had at the conclusion of a budget process since the recession. And I want to expand on that a little bit. Some of that's external, some of that's internal. And externally, there are many challenges that are beyond the reach of this local government that there's not much we can do to address. The dysfunction and the toxic energy that we're seeing in our federal government right now, which the most latest iteration is the game of chicken to see what happens with our national debt limit, is just another example of dysfunction at the federal level that bleeds through to the local level and impacts our operations and our residents every day. We also saw the dumpster fire in a runaway freight train of a town hall last week, which is unfortunately a precursor of what we expect in this upcoming presidential election cycle, which will once again bring out the worst in too many of us and remind us that we have to choose civility here in Montgomery County. We have to ensure that we hold the line and demonstrate as public officials that we can work collaboratively and will work collaboratively to address some of the most complex needs that have faced our community in generations. And so I'm proud of the work that has been done through this budget process, but recognize, as has been noted, it's a constant shift and change. Every budget is different. They're like snowflakes. No two are the same. But we do see many of the factors that are repeated over time. We've had to go through recessions before as a county government. We've had challenges with inflation that have bled into our local government as well. But we have continued to weather that storm because we've weathered that storm together. This 20th council and this 6th county executive will have 3 more budgets that we have to work on collaboratively together. We also need to continue to work with our partners in the Board of Education, MNC PPC, and all of the ancillary government agencies who make up what I think is one of the strongest local governments in all of the United States of America. And many others agree. We have a long-standing tradition of making sure that we provide high-quality services and that we are a transparent government. And while it's never perfect, I think there's more that we can do moving forward to ensure that some of the complexities that we address during this budget process aren't repeated in the future. I appreciate the council president beginning the process this year with what did feel like a zero-based budget. But moving forward, I think some of the lessons learned are, if we are going to continue with that approach, which I think is appropriate, we have to make sure that we work earlier in the process with our colleagues in the executive branch and in our colleagues in the Board of Education, so that we're not rushed in the end to make very complex decisions in a manner that feels sometimes a bit overwhelming. But let me state how impressed I was with my 6 new colleagues who really did an extraordinary job of really hitting the ground running, asking tough questions, following up, and acknowledging that there's a lot that we can improve upon together. We've done it before, we'll do it again. And as has been noted many times, we will be back again here next year with, unfortunately, decisions that will look very different than the ones that we made this time. The decisions this year weren't whether or not we were going to grow. We grew pretty significantly and historically, but how much? Next year, it will likely be how much we are going to have to take away, because some of the economic conditions are going to make those decisions for us. But I feel confident that working collaboratively year-round, not just in the several months leading up to the budget process and through it, that we'll be in a better position next year to weather what will inevitably be another storm that we will have to face together. But despite those challenges, there are a lot of great things in this budget. And I do want to begin by recognizing my colleagues on the Health and Human Services Committee. Councilmembers Lutke and Sales were outstanding partners. And I think that we were able to achieve a lot collectively as a body to hold the line on ensuring that we enhance the social safety net, which we know is saving lives, and we know improving the quality of life, especially of our most vulnerable residents. Specifically, we have continued the efforts laid bare by previous councils, and especially last year when I served as my 1 year as council president, to work with our partners in the community on achieving, I think, a very achievable goal, which is ending childhood hunger here in Montgomery County. There was a $3 million investment in our service consolidation hubs, the formation and the development and what will now be the execution of the strategic plan to end childhood hunger. The Office of Food System Resilience was fully funded in this budget. And we have also, working with Councilmember Sales, who is our lead to address health inequities in our community, made further investments to build upon the momentum that we established during COVID by enhancing the work of our incredible partner organizations, such as the Minority Health Initiatives and Programs, but also increasing the primary care reimbursement rate for Montgomery Cares. We have also added $100,000 for support for medical services under Care for Kids. We thank you, Councilmember Balcom, for acknowledging the importance of the mobile health clinic, particularly in reaching some of our communities such as Poolesville, that will be necessary for us to meet the community where they are to address some of the public health disparities as opposed to waiting for them to come to us. And as was noted by Councilmember Katz, we made further enhancements in supporting the incredible organizations that provide support and love to the developmental disability community by not only supporting the county executive's recommended 2% increase to those contracts, but adding 2% on top of it. We also worked on eviction prevention with over $1.7 million in increases, and the Working Families Income Supplement was funded by this council, and that's another area of an example of where we need to work collaboratively with the county executive. And while we wanted to do more, we did support the county executive's additional 3% inflationary adjustments for our nonprofit organizations who are performing critical work in our community. We also did make further enhancements and support our public safety professionals, which is something that we can be proud of. And the first priority in this budget was ensuring that we honored our incredible public servants here in Montgomery County by supporting the salary and compensation of our public servants at all levels of county government, because we are only good as the remarkable public servants that we have providing these services day in and day out. While we were able to achieve a lot in this budget that I'm proud of, clearly there's much more we will need to do. And as I stated earlier, there will be 3 more budgets from which to work from to address those needs. I want to end by thanking a lot of people, but I want to start with my staff, led by my Chief of Staff, Beth Schuman, Kristen Tribble, Siobhan Davenport, Jackie Rivera-Oven, and Maida Bayonet, who I really appreciated Councilmember Sales getting emotional when talking about her staff. People don't fully understand the amount of work that they have to do year-round, but particularly in these 3 months where they have so much to process and crunch. I do want to thank our council president and his staff who work even harder. I know that in the first person, trying to bring all of this together. And I also want to thank Chairman Jawando, who did an outstanding job in his first year leading the Education and Culture Committee. There were moments where I thought, man, I should have stayed on public safety, especially this time. But I do appreciate his leadership during these difficult moments, and I appreciated the collaboration with Council Mink and her team on the Education and Culture Committee. And I do want to thank the extraordinary, and I do mean extraordinary, staff here in our central office, which once again works diligently to make all of this look easy. And believe me, it is not. I want to thank Ms. Michelson and Mr. Howard for their dedication and leadership, but I particularly want to thank Ms. Essie McGuire, Ms. Tara Clemens-Johnson, and Ms. Vivian Yao, who helped staff the Health and Human Services Committee. And I just want to give a big shout out to Ms. Clemens-Johnson. This was her first big budget that she worked on, and it was seamless. She had big shoes to fill, and she filled them very, very well. So while I'm tired too, and we'll hopefully take a nap soon, I am optimistic about the future of our community and our county. I remain relentlessly optimistic about the future of our county. And it's because of our residents. The way they step forward and provide support, whether through it's their passionate testimony on you name the issue, or them making sacrifices on behalf of all of us. I can't thank our residents enough. We will continue to do our best while we have these positions to do right by all of you. And with that, I yield back to you, Mr. President.